In the midst of the battlefield, as cannon fire thunders and despair reigns supreme, a luminous Eucharist appears, shining like the sun and captivating the hearts of both friend and foe. With the specter of death looming, Father Maximus implores the weary soldiers to embrace a miraculous chance at redemption, igniting hope in the most unlikely of places. In this moment where the lines between enemies blur, can the power of faith truly heal the wounds of war? But to understand how we got to this point, we need to go back to the beginning. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. The sun hung low in the smoky sky, casting an eerie light over the battlefield of Asti. Sounds of gunfire and the clash of swords filled the air, blending into a symphony of despair. Soldiers shouted orders, their voices laced with fear as the ground trembled beneath their feet. Bodies fell, some lifeless, while others writhed in agony, begging for solace in a world ripped apart by war. Amidst this chaos, a lone figure stood firm, his faith unwavering amidst the tempest surrounding him. Father Maximus, a priest clad in a tattered cassock, couldn't shake the weight of despair that enveloped him. He moved quickly between the rows of terrified men, murmuring prayers for their souls, each word an invocation for divine mercy. His face bore the scars of time, lined with the sorrow of loss, yet his eyes shimmered with an extraordinary light. This was not merely a battlefield for him. It was a place where hope clung by a thread, where the possibility of divine intervention lay within reach. Father Maximus approached a small clearing where he had set up an altar, its modesty a stark contrast to the violent demands of the world around him. Below the altar, broken weaponry littered the ground, remnants of man's rage against man. Yet even here, amidst noise and turmoil, he could feel a call to action that surged within him. It was a call to bring God into the hearts of the beleaguered soldiers. With shaking hands and a resolute heart, he prepared for Mass, pulling out the sacred host and the chalice. As he set the altar, a sudden explosion rocked the ground, sending a plume of dirt and debris into the air. Soldiers ducked for cover, their faces pale with terror. But Father Maximus stood undaunted, focusing on the task at hand, seeking to draw the terrified men back into the embrace of faith. He raised his voice above the din. "Brothers, in our darkest hour we must not forget the light of Christ." His words, charged with fervor, broke through the fog of fear, drawing a few curious souls closer. Around them the battlefield raged on, a backdrop to Father Maximus' unwavering determination. He made the sign of the cross and continued, "Let us come together in prayer. We are not alone. God walks with us even now." Some soldiers, hesitant at first, dropped their weapons and gathered in a semicircle around the altar, their faces reflecting the conflict of hope and dread. The air was thick with tension, the scent of gunpowder stinging their nostrils, yet a palpable shift began to envelop the group. As the priest lifted the sacred host, a sense of reverence overcame them. The weight of the Eucharist felt heavy and powerful, a contrast to the chaos that engulfed them. His voice rose above the cacophony, each syllable a thread weaving them back into the fabric of humanity. With a gentle yet passionate inflection, he proclaimed, "This is my body given for you." As he spoke those ancient words, silence descended on the men, a hush that swallowed the battlefield. For a moment it seemed as if time stood still. The war receded into the background, and all that existed was this sacred act of faith. They were still soldiers, dressed in armor, surrounded by death, yet they were also brothers in Christ, yearning for grace amidst the bloodshed. But even as hope flickered in these soldiers' hearts, deep within Father Maximus lay an unsettling premonition. He could sense the despair reaching its peak, a storm of suffering looming closer. Would this be enough to protect them? Could their collective prayers draw the divine closer to their plight? As if echoing his thoughts, a distant roar of cannon fire erupted, jarring the soldiers back to the present. Their hearts raced again, and the moment of solace seemed a fleeting dream. Among the men kneeling before the altar was a young soldier, barely 16. His uniform, torn and smeared with mud, belied the innocence in his eyes, now brimming with hope and fear. He locked eyes with Father Maximus, seeking guidance as the shadows of war crept ever closer. With a steady gaze, the priest nodded, reassuring him that surrendering to faith was as powerful as the sword in battle. The first notes of prayer began to rise from the group, swelling and flowing together like a river of faith in the midst of destruction. Yet the chaos surrounding them was relentless, threatening to drown out the fragile tones of hope. Just as the soldier prepared to join his fellow warriors in prayer, the sounding of arrows thundering through the air shattered their moment of respite. Suddenly the world erupted in chaos once more, the sounds of war closing in, a suffocating reminder of their grim reality. In that moment, Father Maximus anchored his faith deeper than the turmoil around him. Surrendering himself to prayer, his own heart grew calm. "O Lord, grant us a sign, a miracle to save us from this despair," he whispered under his breath, unaware that the answer was already on the way. As cannon fire roared nearby, a strange tranquility enveloped him, a palpable sense that something extraordinary was about to unfold. Perhaps this earnest plea for divine intervention was the key to igniting hope within their fearful hearts. The battlefield of despair was about to become a canvas for the miraculous, but would they be ready for what was to come? Amidst the tumult of clashing metal and cries of anguish, the battlefield of Asti became a vivid tapestry of emotional struggle. The Asti defenders, their faces drawn and weary, stood resolute against the creeping tide of Milanese invaders. The very air felt heavy, thick with the weight of fear that clung to each soldier, a cloak woven of doubt and uncertainty. Families far away, their minds torn with longing and dread, suffered just as profoundly as the men who fought under the dirty sky. Father Maximus, who remained a steadfast pillar among the chaos, watched as the soldiers exchanged strained glances, their minds undoubtedly burdened with thoughts of home. Mothers, wives, brothers, and children flitted through their minds, faces shifting like shadows in the gathered dusk. Each man wielded a weapon, but it was prayer, he hoped, that would prove mightier than steel. In this throbbing atmosphere of uncertainty, his resolve grew stronger. He had witnessed the supernatural before, and he believed fervently that divine intervention could reshape their fate. To the left of the altar, a seasoned captain paced restlessly, his hand absently gripping the hilt of his sword. He recalled the warm sunlight on his daughter's face, the way her laughter filled his heart. He had promised to return home to hold her once again, to tell her stories of valor and bravery. Yet now the horrors of battle threatened to steal all that away. Men around him whispered their fears, each voice a jagged shard cutting through the air. What will happen if we falter? What if we lose? Their uncertainty intensified the already churning storm in his mind. Amid these swirling fears, Father Maximus stepped forward, his voice rising above the noise. Look around you, each of us carries the weight of our loved ones, yet we stand united. His voice resonated with authority. He gestured toward the distant hills bathed in a fading light, a poignant reminder of the beauty that still existed beyond the conflict. We are defenders, guardians of our homes and families. Draw upon that strength. For every bullet that flies, there is a prayer that rises to meet it. His words ignited a spark. The young soldier who had met Father Maximus's gaze earlier nodded vigorously, emboldened by the priest's fervor. He raised his hands, joined by others, and in unison they began an impromptu prayer. O Lord, grant us courage, protect our families. Their voices intertwined, building a resonant chorus against the threatening storm of war. The fervent prayers chased away some shadows, but the anxiety of the assault remained. Across the battlefield, the Milanese forces pressed forward like a relentless tide, their banners snapping in the wind, shrouded in an aura of relentless determination. Each charge forward was met with desperation from the Asti defenders. The pounding of boots against the hard ground created a rhythm of fear that echoed in their hearts. Yet solitude hung over this battlefield, a thin veil woven of time and space through which opportunities for hope ebbed and flowed. In this bittersweet moment, Father Maximus glanced up at the heavens, his heart praying for a miracle that would reach beyond the mortal struggle below. Within him simmered a deep understanding that the outcome of this conflict might very well be determined not by sword or gunpowder, but by the unseen hand of God guiding their destinies. Suddenly, a profitable moment to strike seemed ripe. The Asti defenders adjusted their lines, moving together like a well-rehearsed dance, exchanging murmurs of encouragement. The air vibrated with anticipation, each soldier finding resolve amidst the chaos. Holding their sacred faith close to their hearts, they readied themselves for what lay ahead as shadows of fear began to lift, replaced by the bonds of brotherhood forged in the face of adversity. Just as the enemies advanced with renewed vigor, a sudden shift swept through the air. A blinding light pierced the gloomy sky, captivating the eyes of every soldier present. They halted their movements, caught unawares by the dazzling spectacle unfolding before them. The glow intensified, and Father Maximus's heart raced. Was this the sign he had sought so desperately? The soldiers turned toward the source of the luminous spectacle, confused and awestruck. "What is that?" a voice murmured, rising above the hushed whispers. Tears sparkled in the eyes of the young soldier who had just prayed for courage. He dared to hope, allowing the radiance to wash over him, filling him with an indescribable warmth. A collective gasp rose among the defenders as the light revealed itself to be a miraculous force, a Eucharist strong and unyielding, shining like the sun, suspended in the air. It was a symbol of hope and grace, drifting away from the arms of the priest on the battlefield. Father Maximus stepped forward, unable to comprehend the majesty unfolding before him. His heart swelled with gratitude, and his voice barely contained the awe he felt. "Behold the body of Christ," he declared, tears streaming down his face, a mix of joy and disbelief illuminating his features. May this moment remind us of God's enduring love and presence. As the light spread across the battlefield, a tangible shift occurred. The soldiers peered into one another's eyes, speaking unspoken words of hope. Divisions that once separated them melted away, replaced with a shared acknowledgement of awe. The Milanese forces, too, were captivated, their advances halted, curiosity overpowering their aggression. "Look, do you see the light?" a Milanese soldier gasped, pointing to the Eucharistic figure. For the first time, soldiers from both sides lowered their weapons, captivated by the luminous miracle that seemed to soothe the chaos and turmoil inside their hearts. In that sacred moment where faith met miracles woven through despair, the battlefield transformed. Men reflecting on their humanity knew they were more than warriors. They were brothers standing on the precipice of the divine, granted a glimpse of grace in a war-torn world. Would this be the turning point they desperately sought? Would the longing for peace spark a change in their hearts? The answer remained suspended in that extraordinary light, waiting for them to reach out and seize it. As the radiant light from the Eucharist illuminated the battlefield, time seemed to stand still. The sounds of war faded into a distant whisper, replaced by a profound silence that blanketed both the Asti defenders and the Milanese invaders. Their eyes, wide with wonder, remained fixed on the miraculous sight before them. The fear and animosity that had fueled their conflict transformed into a palpable sense of awe, drawing them together in a silent embrace of shared humanity. Father Maximus, overcome by emotion, lowered his head in reverence, taking a moment to gather his thoughts. He felt a warmth envelop him, an assurance that the divine presence was very much alive in that sacred space. With a deep breath, he raised his voice once more, aiming to break the spell of reverent disbelief that had ensnared the soldiers. "Brothers, God is here with us. In this moment we stand as witnesses to His mercy and His promise of peace." The rays of light seemed to pulsate in response to his words, filling the hearts of those present with an electrifying energy. The young soldier, still clutching his sword, found himself taking a step forward, his heart pounding with an overwhelming sense of hope. "Can this be real?" he thought, glancing from Father Maximus to the glowing Eucharist. Determined to understand the depth of his emotions, he resolved to step beyond fear and embrace this extraordinary moment. Around him, soldiers on both sides began to move, hesitantly approaching the glorious light. The burning desire for understanding outweighed their hesitation. The lines that had divided them, enemy and ally, began to blur as souls merged in a collective yearning for salvation. Father Maximus felt this transformation brewing, smiling as he witnessed the lives of men unraveling in front of him, revealing hearts that pulsed with longing rather than hatred. And then the unexpected occurred. One soldier from the Milanese side, a towering figure with scars of battle etched across his face, stepped forward. He hesitated, caught between conflicting emotions, rage from the ongoing assault and regret for past decisions. "Why are we fighting?" he shouted, his voice trembling. "Look at what we've done. We've lost brothers, and for what?" The weight of his words hung in the air, reverberating through the souls of both armies. Moving as if compelled by an unseen force, other soldiers began to echo similar sentiments, their voices rising in a symphony of realization. "Enough, this is madness," shouted another, tears streaming down his cheeks. The noble bravado that had once demanded bloodshed crumbled under the weight of revelation. The radiant Eucharist pulsed with a brilliant light as the soldiers, now standing together, felt an overwhelming urge to put down their weapons. Some dropped their swords, others cast their shields aside, each act a symbol of surrender, not to their foes but to a greater calling for peace. Father Maximus observed, his heart swelling with hope as he recognized a divine orchestration at play. "Let us meet each other as brothers," he called out, voice rich with encouragement. "No longer as soldiers in battle, but as souls seeking the light." His words settled over the gathering like a gentle breeze, evoking a shared sense of warmth and camaraderie. The atmosphere lightened, and the soldiers began to inch closer to the Eucharist, curious reflections of humanity, gathering around a light that promised salvation. Each man took tentative steps toward the radiant figure, their expressions shifting from fear to fascination. "This is a sign," a voice whispered from the back of the crowd, and the words wove through the throng, igniting glimmers of hope that burned brighter with each breath. As they moved forward together, the stark division created by war vanished in the face of a shared aspiration for peace. Encountering one another in this newfound light, gestures of friendship replaced old animosities. A Milanese warrior clapped a hand on the shoulder of an Asti defender, the power of that touch bridging the gap between enemy lines. Laughter rumbled softly through their ranks, a poignant reminder of the lives lost and futures shattered, now simultaneously softened by the glow enveloping them. But amid this extraordinary shift, a lingering tension crackled in the air. Would they truly stand united, or would the reality of their pasts evolve into an irrepressible chasm? The radiant light emanating from the Eucharist seemed to sense this, pushing throughout the crowd like a wave of reassurance. The soldiers, emboldened by this mystical force, began to share stories of those they had loved and lost, ruminating on the lives that had been extinguished and calling out the betrayal of war. "I had a brother, a farmer," one young man began, his eyes glazing over. "He was all I had. He died last summer while I fought. I never got to say goodbye." The pain of his loss painted vivid images across the assembled crowd. Others began to share their stories, fathers, sons, brothers, and lovers lost to the ravages of battle. Tears flowed, not just for their own scars, but for the wounds of their supposed enemies. In this moment of vulnerability, realization dawned. They all longed for something more than the endless cycle of bloodshed. It was clarity that connected them. Together, they were family, torn apart by circumstances beyond their control, yet still bound by the shared fragility of life. The bright display of light enveloped the soldiers, illuminating the remnants of armor and weaponry that covered the broken soil beneath them. And as they gazed at one another in raw sincerity, they found themselves intertwining their lives in ways they never imagined possible. Father Maximus, sensing the urgency of this divine intervention, stepped forward. Let us pray together. Let us ask for healing for ourselves, for our families, and for the souls we have lost. The soldiers, filled with unity and purpose, lowered their heads as one, honoring a sacred call to connect with the divine. Together, voices rose from humbled hearts, merging prayers into a single powerful expression of regret, hope, and aspiration. O Lord, lead us to peace. May we become instruments of your grace. As the last echoes of their prayer faded, the Eucharist in the air pulsed in resounding concordance. Its glimmering light expanded further, binding their hearts in a harmonious chorus that shimmered across the battlefield. In that timeless moment, they transcended their roles as fighters, emerging instead as harbingers of peace guided by the inexplicable touch of God. And perhaps, just perhaps, they had finally written a new story for their future. Would they embrace it? Would they remember the lessons learned in this miraculous moment? The battlefield had birthed the possibility of friendship, redemption, and a legacy that would echo through generations to come. As the light illuminated the path ahead, the soldiers knew they stood on the brink of something grand, a divine calling that invited them to walk together, side by side, toward a future dripping with hope. As the last echoes of their prayer resonated through the air, the extraordinary glow of the Eucharist continued to radiate, casting its divine light across the battlefield. Soldiers stood together, eyes wide and hearts open, marveling at the grace that unfolded before them. This miraculous event transcended mere spectacle. It ignited a longing for something far beyond their previous conflicts. Hope blossomed in their hearts like the first flowers of spring, as an unexpected harmony enveloped the men of both sides. In the midst of this miracle, a deep silence settled over the battlefield. Father Maximus, still in awe, felt the weight of the moment ground him as he observed the soldiers, all now united by a singular purpose that pulsed with vibrancy. It was as if the very fabric of reality had shifted. An unseen force had woven them together in a tapestry of reconciliation, one that bore the scars of war but also the fresh promise of peace. In that fervent quiet, the towering Milanese captain stepped forward, his once fierce demeanor softened by the light. "What have we done?" His voice trembled, cracking beneath the weight of his conscience. "How did we let ourselves be consumed by hatred? We have taken so much from one another, lost so many lives. Today we stand witnesses to a miracle, a chance to rewrite our story." The confession hung heavily in the air, giving voice to the private sorrows buried deep within each soldier's heart. Father Maximus nodded gravely, stepping closer to the assembled group. "Indeed," he affirmed, his voice steady yet filled with compassion. "This moment grants us a chance to embrace our shared humanity. We may have fought as enemies, but we are brothers in Christ now, united by love, forgiveness, and this sacred miracle. Let us agree on a truce, not only for the day, but for our futures." He glanced at the young soldier who had sparked hope among his peers, the boy whose gaze had shifted throughout the battle from uncertainty to pure faith. Encouraged, the boy stepped forward, letting the strength of the moment envelop him. "We can protect one another not as adversaries but as allies. Let this day be remembered. Let this miracle remind us of our duty to stand with one another, to nurture the seeds of hope within." A murmur of agreement echoed throughout the soldiers as a collective understanding washed over them. This was not just a moment of reprieve, it was the dawning of a new era. As if summoned by the power of their thoughts, they turned to each other, and handshakes replaced weapons. Embraces filled the space once occupied by conflict, and promises resonated between tightly held hearts. One Asti soldier, strong and resolute, broke through the din. "Then let us build a chapel, a place where we can share our stories, where others can come to witness this miracle and find peace." His words rang with conviction, igniting the imaginations of those gathered. "Let us dedicate our new friendship to God and to those we've lost." The soldiers erupted into cheers, each spirit invigorated with the potential of hope. Bishop Enrico, who had arrived on horseback moments after the glory of the Eucharist unfolded, listened from the edges of the formation. His heart sang as he observed the change in men, the connectivity blossoming against the backdrop of grief and agony they had endured. Here was a new generation who craved peace, who yearned for understanding, and he could see the ripple effect as it influenced even his own heart. We will honor our commitment to build this sacred space, he boomed, raising his arms to quiet the growing enthusiasm. Let us lay the foundation where our hearts can converge. Together, we will create a sanctuary where belief transcends division, where compassion reigns over conflict. The sentiment was met with fervent applause, echoing across the once silent battlefield. Father Maximus led the charge amidst cheers, setting the scene for a shift so profound that it would be talked about for generations. Gather what remains of your weapons and armor. We will use them not to fight but to build, not to destroy, but to create places of hope where our children can learn the power of love. And so, with each passing moment, what had once been a battlefield morphed into a sanctuary wrought from the very instruments of war. Bit by bit, pieces of steel and wood began to form a rough outline of a chapel. The energy radiated through both armies as they worked side by side, laughter and teamwork transcending the old barriers of conflict. Furthermore, camaraderie blossomed in the soil once stained with sorrow. Stories were shared, laughter echoed through the twilight, and each exchange transformed pain into possibility. The young soldier who had first dared to hope found himself caught in conversations with men from the opposing side, their laughter weaving together aspirations for peace. As twilight descended, Bishop Enrico proposed a beautiful tradition. Let us light candles as a symbol of our newfound commitment. Each flame represents a promise that we will uphold our faith and strive together for peace. Hundreds of candles were placed along the chapel's humble beginnings, their flickering flames illuminating the faces of those who had once worn expressions twisted by rage. In the soft glow of candlelight, shadows danced, celebrating a new chapter of healing and reconciliation. As Father Maximus led a prayer at the altar, the soldiers gathered close together, their bodies forming a protective circle around the flickering flames. Hearts drummed in sync, spirits intertwined. He poured forth gratitude for the miracle that had united them, requesting strength to continually embrace the path of peace. And in that moment, underneath a vast sky glittering with stars, something unprecedented stirred in the hearts of the men. The divisions created by war faded into the background, gradually replaced with the bright promise of unity and hope. They were no longer soldiers who fought for opposing sides, they were members of a shared mission. Let us remember this day, the bishop concluded, his voice hoary with emotion. May today be the catalyst for our legacy. May future generations look upon this chapel as a testament to the power of love and the divine promise that illuminates our darkest hours. May they gather here to rekindle faith, friendship, and forgiveness. As the last remnants of dusk surrendered to night, the soldiers gazed at the flickering lights that began to fill the chapel, the warmth of their unity becoming palpable. The transformation of conflict into kinship was resounding, underlined by an ever-present sense of divine guidance. Would they continue to strive toward this light? Would they nurture the bonds that blossomed here? The resounding murmurs of yes, yes, yes flowed from their lips, affirming that this miracle was not merely an event, but the beginning of a profound journey, one of peace, hope, and everlasting legacy, a pledge to carry the flame of that first shared prayer into their hearts and beyond. In the days that followed the miraculous transformation of the battlefield into a sanctuary of peace, the town of Asti began to change in ways they had never imagined possible. The chapel, a beacon of hope and forgiveness, became a central gathering place for the community, a symbol of their commitment to unity and love. Bishop Enrico took it upon himself to not only foster the spirit of reconciliation within the walls of the chapel, but also beyond its humble doors. He organized weekly gatherings, inviting townspeople, soldiers, and anyone within reach to share stories, engage in discussions, and explore the themes of compassion and empathy. The Bible verses of forgiveness echoed throughout the chapel, resonating deeply within each heart as they began to confront their past. Every Sunday, the chapel filled with light as sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns on the faces of those who had once viewed each other as enemies. Laughter blended with solemn prayers, creating an atmosphere rich with both joy and reverence. Farmers, artisans, and families assembled, demonstrating the strength of their newfound community bonds. On one occasion, a young woman named Isabella, whose brother had been a soldier in the conflict, found the courage to share her story. With a quivering voice, she recalled the night she received news of her brother's death, emotions fierce enough to reverberate throughout the congregation. I was devastated, she admitted, tears pooling in her eyes, but the love shared in this chapel has helped me heal. I understand now that the pain of loss is universal, that every soldier's family feels the weight of war. Her heartfelt words struck a chord, inspiring others to share their own stories of loss and forgiveness. A Milanese farmer, Jose, stepped forward. I lost my son in this foolish war, he said, voice trembling as he too swept back the mire of pain. but I came to realize that this chapel stands as a unifying force. I've met the family of the soldier who took my son's life, and together we choose to remember him in love rather than hate. The congregation sat enveloped in a powerful silence, each truth spoken igniting a renewed sense of purpose within. Several more families exchanged their grief, bonding over the collective loss of loved ones, and a space formed for understanding. In the following weeks, memories became a celebration of lives lived rather than examples of sorrow carried alone. The stories echoed back to Bishop Enrico, who began to draft them as a tapestry of reconciliation, tessellating the soldiers' and families' narratives into a shared history. The past does not have to dictate our future, he reminded them. Let us weave these stories together so that we may forge a brighter path. As the chapel filled with the warmth of unity and shared experiences, whispers grew into pledges of collaboration within the community. Inspired by the stories of loss and healing, townspeople began to create programs aimed at nurturing their youth, instilling values of peace, understanding, and cooperation into the hearts of the next generation. Schools started to intertwine teachings of history with lessons on forgiveness, allowing children to retrace the paths of the past while holding on to the vision of a united future. They created art projects that depicted their journey from conflict to peace, filling the walls of their classrooms and public spaces with vibrant murals symbolizing hope and unity. Meanwhile, Father Maximus continued his unwavering support, conducting workshops in the chapel for both adults and children, aiming to strengthen their resolve to be peacemakers in a world often marred by division. Each session was a gathering of hearts where they learned to meditate, pray, and reflect upon their shared humanity. The atmosphere buzzed with compassionate energy, ignited by a single act of faith that had turned a battlefield into a sanctuary. As the seasons changed, the town of Asti flourished, becoming a model of reconciliation, where the past was honored but not utilized as a weapon. Wellspring of hope sprung forth from the soil of shared lament, each soldier and civilian discovering their purpose within a unified fabric of strength. News about their remarkable legacy traveled beyond the borders of Italy. Couples came to Asti to celebrate love in the chapel, friends forged new bonds, and those seeking redemption found solace in the sacred space that had birthed reconciliation. Scholars and historians ventured into the heart of the community to document this inspiring transformation, aiming to share their stories of perseverance globally. To preserve the collective memory, an annual celebration was established, marking the day of the first miracle. On that day, townspeople gathered at the chapel, lighting candles and sharing meals and transforming their sorrow into gratitude. They forged friendship with neighboring villages, inviting them to participate, creating a festival of peace that blossomed year after year. It was at one of these anniversaries, under the twinkling lights decorating the night sky, that an unexpected visitor arrived, a poet from a distant land inspired by rumors of the chapel. As he listened to the tales of unity, he felt compelled to capture their legacy through art. "There is profound beauty in forgiveness," he said, as he penned verses celebrating their journey. Inspired by their courage, he collaborated with local artists, creating a mural on the chapel's exterior that told the tale of their miraculous transformation. Through the years, the community morphed into an enduring symbol of hope. They became a living example of how love can mend fractured hearts, proving that even the most profound wounds could heal if nurtured with compassion and understanding. As the decades passed, the story of Asti became not merely a legend but a reality in the fabric of the human condition. And in that chapel, where love had transcended the scars of war, generations would continue to gather, sharing dreams, nurturing kindness, and perpetuating the legacy of a truth once discovered, that the path to peace is forged through understanding, and in every heart lies the capacity to forgive. As the years flowed on, Asti flourished as a beacon of hope, a living testament to the power of love, resilience, and redemption. Each year, the annual celebration of the miraculous change brought greater numbers of visitors, not only to honor the miraculous events of the past, but to witness a community thriving on the principles of compassion and understanding. Amidst the laughter and joy during the festival, the chapel stood proud, adorned with fresh flowers and colorful ribbons, glowing with warmth as the sun began to set. Families from surrounding villages gathered, forming a vibrant tapestry of humanity eagerly awaiting the festivities. Children dashed about, their laughter echoing like music through the streets, weaving a narrative of innocence and hope, a living contrast to the horrors of the past. Isabella, now a respected elder and community storyteller, shared the legacy of peace with a passion that resonated through each word. Sitting beneath the shade of a sturdy oak tree, she gathered the children around her. "Today we celebrate not just a miracle but the heart of who we are as a community," she began, her gaze sweeping over the eager faces. "Our story is one of transformation, where forgiveness mends the deepest wounds." Her words painted vivid images of camaraderie and love, capturing the attention of everyone present. Young and old alike leaned in, amazed at how their ancestors had turned the tide of conflict into a flourishing future. Isabella continued, her voice rising like the sun that bathed them all in its light. Every candle we light today symbolizes our commitment to nurturing this legacy of peace. We hold the power to shape our community with acts of kindness. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the magical festival began its crescendo. Music filled the air, a harmonious blend of instruments that brought the crowd together. The jubilant rhythm pulsed through the hearts of those present, awakening memories of their shared journey toward healing. Bishop Enrico, now a much-beloved figure in the community, took center stage, his years marked with wisdom and grace. "Look around you," he exclaimed, his voice rich and commanding. "This is the fruit of our commitment, our connections born from compassion and love. Together, we have woven a tapestry of hope with the strands of forgiveness. Let us carry it forward." The villagers erupted in applause, their spirits soaring as they cheered for peace, friendship, and a brighter future. They reminded each other of how their journey continued, emphasizing that the lesson of forgiveness lived not just in words, but in actions woven through their daily lives. The joyful atmosphere transitioned into an evening spent around bonfires, the twinkling stars above becoming a canopy of dreams. Stories were shared, recounting experiences none would have dared to speak of in the days of conflict. The warm glow of the fire cast flickering shadows, enveloping them in a safe space to express their fears, hopes, and aspirations. Amid the laughter and introspection, a group of artists painted a mural on the side of the chapel, inspired by the memories exchanged. Each stroke of their brush brought forth vibrant colors representing the shared experiences of the community. A radiant sun beamed down upon figures of men and women clasping hands, a poignant reminder of how love had triumphed over despair. As the night grew deeper, the procession to the chapel began once again. Candles in hand, the townsfolk walked together, generation after generation, united by a single cause. The glimmering lights represented hope, illuminating the path toward the chapel, where the flickering flames would unite them in profound promise. Upon reaching the chapel, they arranged themselves in a circle, and Bishop Enrico led them in a collective prayer. "May today's celebration be a living testament to the seeds of peace we have sown together. We are one community, bound by love, forever cherishing the lessons learned from our past." The sound of whispered prayers mixed with the soft rustling of trees, creating a serene ambience that enveloped them. Together, they reaffirmed their devotion to the ideals that had brought them together, echoing their commitment to carry those ideals into the world beyond Asti, to inspire new generations to walk the path of understanding. As the candles burned low, flickering stars danced in the velvety night sky, a tapestry of luminosity that paralleled the village below. Each light held the essence of those present, who understood that together they had the power to make a difference. In that moment of unity, they recognized the journey they had embarked upon, their hearts entwined in an unbreakable bond. The legacy of the chapel was not merely a collection of stories. It was a living, breathing commitment to nurture peace, foster understanding, and extend compassion to all. And in the heart of Asti, where love had triumphed over despair, the spirit of forgiveness continued to ignite hope in the hearts of those who dared to dream, a testament that even amidst the darkest moments, love prevailed and the world could be forever transformed. What did you think of this story? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Click the video on the left to hear another story.